Hey! So this week we're going to be covering the ultimate Christmas present.
The first of our dive into the Disney holiday spirit, the DCOM holiday spirit.
Yes, we got to get you all, ready for Christmas. I'm a huge Mariah Carey fan, so I've been ready since approximately October 1st. But I realize that other people need to warm up a little bit more.
Yeah, I like the Halloweens, so I've been steadily getting ready. I'm an after Thanksgiving gal myself, I will say. Post Thanksgiving, it is now holiday season, holiday cheer, all that good stuff. Um, and it's just a sweet time. I think
It is.
I love my family more
Mm-hmm.
than I do the rest of the year.
Everybody seems
Or
a
at
little
least
bit
I'm aware
nicer.
of it. Yeah, people
Candy
smile
canes.
in New York.
Yeah, it's just like a fun, just a nice time. Yeah,
wonderful flavors: cranberry,
chocolate,
cinnamon.
Yeah, oh yes, cinnamon,
eggnog.
Yeah,
because it goes straight through y'all. If you're not drinking eggnog all the way through New Year's, then you're doing it wrong. Just
I agree with
life
that.
On a whole,
you can just like me listen to All I Want for Christmas Is You on a loop.
Or the Whitney Houston Christmas album, also a banger.
Yeah,
New Edition Christmas album, and 98 Degrees. Three of my
Boys to Men also. They do my favorite cover of Let It Snow. Them and Brian McKnight. I was gonna sing it and then I realized copyright. So I won't do that. But you should listen to that song. Anyways.
So with that,
Ultimate Christmas Present.
I guess we should talk about Ultimate Christmas Present, which
it came out in 2000,
and it was the first Disney Channel original movie that was holiday themed.
Yeah, the first Christmas one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because we technically
obviously
Halloween Town, but this was the first winter solstice period
themed
Christmas movie or movie
period
DCOM.
So I guess to get into a quick recap.
Yeah.
Quick recap. Ha 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 ha. So essentially, it starts out, and we're watching a family sort of go through their morning, and it's quite a hustle and a bustle. It seems like everybody is sort of running around, a lot of scheduling going on, trying to mesh all their schedules together. Dad is taking off to go on a business, San Francisco to go on a business trip. The kids are letting their mom know all of their Christmas plans, and she's like, okay, I have to pencil that in with all this other stuff. So so there's a lot going on. Our main character is Hallee Thompson, whose best friend, and who I would like to call the other main character, is Brenda Song.
Queen Song.
Yeah, it's her first Disney Channel original movie. It's the first time that we get Brenda Song on screen, and might I say, marvelous. Just warmed my heart to see baby Brenda.
She's so great.
She was great when I was a child, and she's great now.
A true talent.
But yeah, so Hallee and her best friend Samantha, played by Brenda Song, we see them at school, and we quickly see that Hallee is not necessarily the most attentive student in the world. So she gets called out by her teacher, and her teacher's like, what is your creative writing essay that is due tomorrow? And it's supposed to be, what was it, 5 pages single space?
Which is actually insane.
For an 11-year-old.
All of 5 pages single space is 10 pages double space.
Which is what most of, college papers are.
Right.
And that's the upper limit of most college papers.
That's how long the extended essay had to be if any of you did that International Baccalaureate program. Hell. So, literally hell.
So that's a little strange, but okay, whatever. So they have this 5-page single space creative writing assignment due, and her teacher wants to know what hers is going to be about. So she makes something up on the spot because she absolutely has not done it.
She hasn't touched it.
Hasn't even considered it forgot that it existed, I believe she says, when Samantha after class calls her out and is like, you definitely just made that up about Shakespeare being alive in modern day. And now you gotta go home and write that. So good luck. And on their way out, they're stopped by Allie's little boy crush. This is not an important part of the film, but it's just, I just like that he shows up, Blake, and he's like, you're coming to my party on Christmas Day, right? Which again makes no sense. But you're coming to my party on Christmas Day, and she's like, of course. And he's like a full foot shorter than her.
Yeah.
And I have a deep affection for like that period of middle school when like everybody was just a weird height, awkward heights, and it becomes
we all
very
just look
clear.
like cell phone bars.
Yeah, and
just
it becomes
walking
very
down
clear that
and it changes every year.
every year, and all of attraction is actually just about faces.
Yeah,
like it makes it very like Young Attraction. That's what it's about because he is so small in comparison to her.
Yeah,
and it's kind of hilarious. And now I get why our parents used to laugh at us when we would talk about our like young loves. They're like, "Oh, look at you two. This mismatched."
Like, you're 5'3" and this guy is 4'8". Like,
and you're both using way too much hair gel because you're children. It's quite funny.
And love spell.
Exactly. It's so funny. Yeah, and like
Victoria's Secret love spell and Amber Romance when you were trying to feel like
Bath and Body Works, fantastic. And Axe Spray. Like that's
what a time.
That's what
a very specific time.
Covering up BO that you haven't yet learned to control. Oh, middle school, the joy. But we digress. So Hallee, after this they're going home from school. Hallee and Samantha, they get on their bikes. They're riding home, and Allie's like, let's take a shortcut through the woods. And Samantha's like, how about we not do that? Because that just doesn't seem like a good idea. Hallee does it anyway. And they stumble upon a cabin, and they decide to, go up and play Ding Dong Ditch. Or again, Hallee wants to go up and play Ding Dong Ditch. And they're about to, but then they see like an old man inside, and he's really frustrated, and he throws something out into the trash can. And because Hallee doesn't have any sense of no, don't.
Her moral compass
not just
is not
because
fully
you
formed.
Want to. she goes and she takes what he threw out of the trash, and she's looking at it, and it's just like kind of like a little robotic looking thing. She's like, oh, this is cool. And Samantha's like, don't do that. Put it back. Let's go. And she's like, but he threw it away. It's trash. We're going to take it. We're going to take it home. And so they do. They take it home. And when they go up to Allie's room and they start sort of playing around with it, and they realize pretty quickly that it is a weather machine. So the different knobs on it can do different things. One, it can cause rain. One of them, she pokes, it triggers an earthquake, which leads to a very funny moment of their mother is a caterer. It's the mom from Lizzie McGuire, by the way, which is
yes.
fun. But her mom is a caterer, and her employee, who is the comic relief of this film, like he is excellent. Ruben, he is the man. Excellent in all shape and form. He jumps into the table because he's like, it's the big one. He's terrified. So that's a fun little quip. But essentially, they realize it's a weather machine. And Hallee is like, hey, my cousin who's like from Boston or something like that, he tells me that they have snow days on the East Coast because these are LA children. They don't know what snow is.
Right.
And she's like, how great would it be if we had 2 weeks to write this paper instead of like 1 day? And Samantha's like, well, I already wrote mine, or am I mostly done, so I actually don't care. So how about you don't do this? She's like, oh, I'll be fine. So they put it out in her flower box, like, on outside of her window, and she turns it on, hopefully to trigger snow in LA and get a snow day for the next day so that school will be out early and she gets all this extra time to write her paper. It does snow. And at first it's wonderful. We get like, nice little snow montages and all of that, and it's
it's snowing in LA.
It's snowing in LA.
The big thing.
It's lovely. But meanwhile, right, we go to the North Pole and we see Mrs. Claus, who has received a frantic call from Santa. And Santa's like, Mama, somebody stole the weather machine. It's so creepy when people call Mama and Papa. Anyway, Mama, somebody stole the weather machine. Send the best elves to help me find it. And she's gonna do that, but then is convinced by John Sally, who plays Sparky.
Yes.
And
he plays Crumpet.
He plays Crumpet, and then the other elf, Sparky.
Is Sparky.
That they should be sent instead because they want to pitch Santa various new ways of doing Christmas.
Yeah, lots of new tech.
And they're like, you can't spare your best elves right before Christmas. That doesn't make sense, so send us. So they're on their way to Santa to help him find out who, took the weather machine. Obviously, when Santa sees it snowing, he's like, huh.
I think I might know who it is.
I think I might know who it is. It has to be essentially the idea, it has to be a naughty child. Because they find a footprint in the snow, and it's of a very specific shoe. It's a girl's size 7.
And I think it was like an Adidas.
Yeah, an Adidas
platform sneaker.
And he's like, I only delivered a certain amount of those in LA last Christmas, so I know it has to be a girl on the naughty list, obviously, because no one not on the naughty list would steal a machine from a trash can. So it launches this whole story thread where Santa's on this investigation, which is quite fun, I think, to find the weather machine. So we know that's coming for these girls, but they don't know that yet. They just frolicking in the snow, having a grand old time. Meanwhile, on the other side of this, the sort of third storyline in it all is about Edwin, the very sad and dull local weatherman, who he's a meteorologist at heart, right? So he loves science. He really wants to
He actually
communicate the
cares
science
about
of weather
Yeah.
to his viewers. They don't, clearly, so his ratings are pretty horrible. His boss obviously has no respect for him. We see him get chewed out by his boss.
He literally calls him dull.
Tells him that if he weren't his brother-in-law, he would have no job. And so we just see that he's living, a sort of sad life. And so he's trying to spice things up, I guess, but it's in his own way, and it's not working out very well. He has a moment on live TV where essentially his crew is trying to tell him, hey, there's breaking weather news in LA, which never happens. There's breaking, well, not never happens, but
yeah, not it wouldn't be snow.
It wouldn't be
likely.
snow. And he's like, and so his crew tells him, and he goes, well, that's just not true. Stop playing around. And they're like, no, there's snow outside. And he's like, stop playing around. There's no snow. After the third time, when he really won't listen to them, somebody off camera throws a snowball at his head on live television in a moment that is very reminiscent to me of a certain congressional meeting that I think we all remember to some extent. But with the ice dripping from his ear, he's like, oh, I guess it's snowing. But that leads him on a whole other sidetrack, on a whole other quest of his own to figure out the source of this storm.
Right.
Because he didn't see it coming on his meteorologist tools. It came out of nowhere, and that's just not how snow works.
Right.
So he's trying to figure out what's going on. So while all this is happening, it's snow in LA, which means that no one knows how to handle this. So yes, schools get shut down just as Hallee wanted, but it also means that, now her dad's flight is stuck. He can't get out of San Francisco, which means it's getting dubious for him to make it home by Christmas.
Right.
Her mom is losing a bunch of jobs because people are canceling all their Christmas parties. Blake's Christmas party gets canceled. Samantha's mom, Samantha has to spend all of her days at Allie's house because she lives in a single parent household, and her mom,
I think she's a nurse or a doctor.
She's either a nurse or a doctor, works at the hospital. They don't say specifically which, I don't think. But, she has to go to the hospital because the hospital's filled because there are definitely so many accidents and
people not knowing how to drive in the snow and all that.
Slipping
on ice.
Stuff. So, essentially, everybody's Christmas is being ruined by this snow.
Right.
And Hallee sort of starts to realize that this is a problem. So she goes up and turns off the snow machine, and she tries to stop it in its tracks, only to realize the next day that she actually was not able to turn it off. It started back up on its own, and the snow has gotten even worse, and the blizzards have gotten even worse. So her and Samantha are now sort of in panic mode. They're trying to figure out what to do, and they come up with this idea of maybe if they bury it deep in the ground, it'll keep the signal from reaching up into the air, and they can stop the snow that way. So they're getting ready to go do that. The power has gone out, and when they go into their garage, when they turn on their flashlights, lo and behold, Santa and his 2 gigantic elves have found them. And they're essentially just like, well, we know it's you. We've checked with all of the other naughty girls, and it genuinely wasn't them. It had to be you. And Hallee is sort of like, you ain't Santa. You're a creepy old man in my garage, and you gots to go. Like, you shouldn't be here. But they're like, no, we're definitely Santa, and you know that we're Santa. I'm Santa. So they decide to bury it in the ground because they think that that will stop the signal and allow them to stop it from snowing. And hopefully that will bring everybody sort of home by Christmas, get things back to where they need to be. So they go to the garage. At this point, the lights are out in the house now. Like, it's really gotten bad. When they get there, they're shocked to find who we know to be Santa and his 2 gigantic elves. And Hallee is essentially like, you ain't Santa. That's not how this works. Like, I know better than that. You're a creepy old man in my garage and you need to go. And he's like, actually, I am Santa, and you should know that I'm Santa because, Samantha, I know that you like to dance to Ricky Martin music and pretend you're married to him when you're alone. And Hallee, I know that you walk around pretending everything is perfect, but really, you are sad and lonely because your family never has time for you and you guys don't have time for each other, and it makes you feel really bad, and that's why you act out the way you do. And she's like, wow, you just read my whole life. I guess you're real. So, they go up to her room to get the machine to, stop the snow. He's going to take it, he's going to fix it, do what he's got to do. But while this has been going on, Edwin, the dull, sad weatherman,
Edwin the dull,
on a mission, has commandeered a vehicle from a man named Horace. Poor Horace, never gets his thing back. Does he get his thing back?
I think it's crashed.
Vespa?
Yeah, it's like a snowmobile.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what it is.
Yeah.
He shows up at Allie's house and he tricks her mother into letting him in by telling her that she's won, a contest with the weather station, and she really doesn't care to have him around, but and once he's in, he sneaks up to her room, finds the machine, is like, haha, this is definitely the source of the storm. And so as he's trying to sneak out with the machine, that is when Hallee and Santa and the elves arrive, and they're like, Edwin, give it to me. Santa's like, give it to me. Edwin's like, never! And sort of throws himself out of the window and runs away with the machine. So now there's a chase that ensues. We end up finding he drives the snowmobile,
yeah,
into a candy shop and ends up in a vat of melted chocolate, and then later ends up and then falls into like a box of cotton candy, which I just want to make it clear, they literally tar and feather him in this movie. That is what happens to this weatherman. But Santa, the elves, Samantha, Hallee, they pursue him to this candy shop, old factory, and they eventually, they find him. They convince him to give the weather machine back, and there's this whole little heart-to-heart sad moment where he's like, oh, like, I was never accepted as a child. I was always weird. No one else wanted to do weather things. And now people don't listen to me, but now I'll be able to control weather whenever I want, and so everybody will believe me, and da-da-da, all that stuff. And Santa's like, bruh, just come on. Just, you gotta do better than this. And so he gives, after he breaks down in tears, he gives Santa back the weather machine, and Santa, fixes it, and, he tells Hallee, essentially that, you're not completely off the naughty list, but, you did something very good here, and if you keep it up, all will be well. She asked for one special gift, and she's not sure if she's going to get it, but then the next morning, her dad shows up in time for Christmas.
Right.
Having been picked up from the airport by the elves.
Yep.
And her and her family are able to have a Merry Christmas. After all, she doesn't get the rollerblades that she wanted, and her mom is really sorry about that. But she's like, you know what? It doesn't matter.
Right.
Which, growth, character growth, we love that, because she understands that being with her family is the ultimate Christmas present.
So, to get into the review side of it,
I still love this film.
I definitely think
It
this is
holds
such a
up.
like Christmas magic type of
It really is.
movie.
For the new millennium,
Yeah.
you know? Like,
what a cute way to enter 2000, you know?
or end.
Well, end, you know.
I'm one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I count.
What a cute way.
But,
Ma'am.
but no shade. No shade directly. But yeah, it was like it's. I remember when I was little, I really, really, really liked this film. It was sort of one of my. I remember it being one of my favorite parts of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Was like watching, like along with watching, like all the Christmas episodes of TV shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was like this was one of my favorite DCOMs to watch. At that time.
Yeah.
I kind of like begrudgingly wished it didn't only come on during that time. And I think I understand why. And I think it's weirdly enough, Chelsea, like you were saying, I think it's somehow informed my adulthood now because as you know, I am someone who wants to be quite disconnected from sort of this deep technological digital era we're in, and sort of the pace that it forces us to move at.
Mm-hmm.
And you were saying, Chelsea, that you really like that the whole premise around this weather machine for Santa, as he explains it to Hallee, is that what he wanted to create was the ability to give what he called the ultimate Christmas present, which was just a gentle snowfall on Christmas morning anywhere in the world. But the reason that was his ultimate Christmas present was because there's something about a gentle snowfall that sort of
it makes people stop.
It encapsulates, like, you know what I mean? It encaptures like all sort of the wonder and joy and like miraculous nature that's associated with this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what encourages people to just move a little slower, appreciate what is right in front of them, and like stop sort of searching, going out looking for like more per se.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's definitely my first thoughts upon watching it is that how much that's still relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's definitely something even more I think would be appreciated now. Like, I feel like that's when I don't actually think of, especially here in New York, a gentle snowfall would really not be like, it would not make anybody stop because here in New York, we'd just be like, well, it's brick and keep moving.
Yep.
But I do feel like it's like, I like that idea of like, if there's just something that would just make people slow down, because we do move so fast. And you see that a couple times in this film, even with the beginning, with the way that her family is so overly scheduled. And I feel like that's even more commonplace now because everybody has their schedule on your phone now. Like, it's not, back then you had to have a physical planner.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if you guys all remember the first day before school started, that was what you bought. Like, you had to buy a planner every year, and that would have all of your info analog, you know? But now that you can do it all digitally, you essentially just have your schedule, your access to your friends and family, everything is in your pocket.
And it dings when, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you get it, it's, we're like trained dogs now.
Yeah.
It's
literally Pavlov. Very Pavlovian now. But yeah, no, so it's just like, I feel like that is one of those things that people would like, low-key, like, really appreciate. It's like, I feel like it's always difficult though, because it's like, I feel like people would be like, I would love something that made me slow down, like, work-wise, but I still want to have access to, like, my phone and my friends and like Netflix and Disney Plus and like TV, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I don't ever want to like lose all of that. But it's like you kind of would have to.
Yeah, you would. Yeah. But I think that there's also something in the idea of like learning to appreciate not having that
right
again. You know, like learning to appreciate or relearning to appreciate or just re-engaging with, because I do think it is something that I think we all do appreciate the analog.
Yeah.
It's just that we don't have much reason to encounter it in modern times unless we're seeking it out.
Right.
Actively seeking it out.
Right.
But just sort of even before TV, you know, like I know like I love playing board games with my family or like card games and things like that. And you know, just you know, the idea of you know sitting around a fire or like sitting down to eat dinner or reading together, like
Mm-hmm.
all of these things that can be done without necessarily like a digital connection.
Right.
They're still fun and there are still things that can be done. And I think this is often a time of year when people get back into that type of mood.
Yeah.
But it's still tough to
because you're never
fully disconnect.
Yeah.
For the rest of y'all, it's really not hard for me. I do it all the time.
Nina's like
I'd be
actively
off the
not
grid.
on like any social media.
It's
really.
kind of deeply wonderful and so freeing.
You know.
You guys need to stay on all social media to follow us.
Right. But
know.
it's 100% me running those.
It really is.
Nina's
Anybody
not
wants to send
involved.
Christmas baskets, please send them to Chelsea. I don't need anything.
Nina's not involved in that because that's just not her thing. But no, I think it's like you were saying earlier. It's like you can't disconnect anymore. Like especially like work wise, you're constantly available. Even to your friends, you're constantly available. Like there's just no ending point anymore. And I feel like ironically, this pandemic has really shown like how malleable time is.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard from quite a lot of people that they feel like they're actually like on the work side of things working even more now than they ever did because there's no hard start and stop hours anymore. And you can't argue it because it's like, well, you're at home. That's how a lot of companies view it.
Yeah.
Is like, well, you're at home, so what else are you doing?
Yeah.
So I think it's so difficult now. But then I think the other side of this, you know, not to make this all about the pandemic, but I think the other side of the pandemic is also that it has required people to slow down because you can't go anywhere.
And just take stock of like what's actually important.
Right.
What is quote unquote essential.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, because you can't actively go anywhere. Well, you couldn't earlier in this time. Yeah. Now it's a different story. So, you know, I just think that there's like that message still very much rings true now as it did then. I think it would even just be harder to cause that reaction now though than in 2000.
Yeah, so it definitely holds up on that end,
oh yeah,
which was pleasant to see and rewatching it because again it's Disney's first Christmas film on it's the first Disney Channel original movie Christmas film, and you know it's pleasant when a childhood favorite sort of still has relevance to your life as an adult.
Yeah.
Although I will just say on that real quick, like I just do have to note, like as much as we drew all that from it, this whole Christmas Day schedule that is happening in the world of this film don't make no damn type of sense. Like, in what world? All right, mom's a caterer, mom has jobs, like that makes sense, right? On Christmas Day, but in what world? Not just is the child allowed to go to a Christmas party on Christmas Day, like for all the kids and like not be with her family, but which parents? Who are the parents who are throwing a party for the local middle school on Christmas Day? Whose parents are those? That's not. I don't know any parent like that from private or public school. Like I don't know anybody who does that. So
listen, I'm a strong 26, and I spend every single Christmas at home with my parents. Like, I'm just like, I wouldn't even like think of another way of spending it as of now. Like,
exactly. Or with aunts, you're with
or
family.
With family of some sort.
Even if it's like family who, like your friends who are family, because I don't, you know.
Yeah.
But it's still family or family adjacent.
Yeah.
That is the concept of.
It's just it's so funny, but yeah, they're truly like an overscheduled family. Like I was just like, what kind of nonsense? How do y'all have schedules on Christmas Day other than the mom who is a caterer and has legitimate reasons to?
Yeah, I was very perplexed.
Like that also
makes no sense.
That didn't make any sense. But actually, to go back to the tech and analog versus analog idea that they bring up, it comes up also with Santa and Sparky and Crumpet, because Sparky and Crumpet come down there and they're like, Santa. We are, you know, we're the Bill Gates of the North Pole, or that's what we're attempting to be. They're like, we have all these new gadgets, we created all this new technology for you to like revolutionize your systems and blah blah blah. And then Santa is just over here like, I don't want to mess around with all these thingamajigs. Like, I know he said, he didn't say thingamajigs, but that's what he would have said.
That's what he felt in his heart.
Yes. Like, he's like, I don't know. Like, he's like, I've used my systems, my scrolls, the naughty and nice list. They've been around for hundreds of years. And now you're saying I need to put it on a computer? Like,
for what purpose?
Literally, for what purpose?
He's not British. They're never British. I don't know why we keep doing that.
We never do.
But
British
it's fun.
Santas.
It's fun.
But yeah. So I think that's.
Or German ones.
Same. Yes. Yeah. No, I was about to say the Dutch one, but that's a whole other bag of worms. So. So yeah, but like you have it come up with them too, because he's very analog. Santa's very analog, and he's like, analog's helped me this far. Like.
Yeah.
Why do I need to like go move forward? And they're just over here like, nah, fam. Like, you need to get on this like iPhone, type of app thing. Like, they were really like trying to pitch him every idea for every single thing that they came up against, and he was just like, no, analog won every time.
And it did win every time. That is important to know. Like, in this
really
movie, they do come down kind of like on the side of just like, value people, not things.
Yeah.
And put your trust and stock in people, not things, not machines. Like, that's where we.
Could we call this movie the spiritual sister to Smart House? In that way.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they live in the same.
In the same like general.
In the same world. Yeah.
Do we think
Allie's not a latchkey kid.
No.
Allie's a genuinely naughty child in the sense of, like, mischievous and, like, knows what she's doing is bad, does it anyway.
Yeah, she's one of those. She's one of those.
But it's not to hurt anyone. It's just because she's only thinking about herself.
Yeah.
She's genuinely just selfish.
It's like that, but I feel like most 12, 13, like, who else are you really to think about but yourself?
This is true. But Samantha...
Yeah.
Is not that.
No, Sam very much experienced early tragedy.
And she's not a selfless character in any way, shape, or form, but she just doesn't. This is why I say, like, Allie's a true naughty child. Like, because Sam is not a naughty child, and, like, she just doesn't do the thing. You know what I mean? She's like, it's like, I could, throw this flour all over the kitchen, but I'm not gonna do that, even though it might be kind of fun. Allie would do it because it would be kind of fun and know she's going to get in trouble and know it's going to be a thing and then complain that she got in trouble.
Right.
Because she just wanted to have fun. Like, that's like the naughtiness of it.
Difference
but
of those
it's
two.
Lighthearted. It's not like she's not like a bad kid.
Yeah.
She's just a little naughty and mischievous and sees in this how that's not always the way to be in life. That can sometimes snowball.
Exactly.
Not to be punny.
Yeah, and I feel like even overall this film basically is like, do not take shortcuts. Like, they're never going to serve you. Everything will eventually snowball and it will catch up with you. Because it's like the reason that she did this in the first place was because she was trying to avoid that creative writing paper that their teacher gave them 2 weeks to do. And Sam reminds her of this when she's complaining about it because Sam's like, well, I did mine.
Exactly. So. She's like, I just did it when it was in the time that we had to do it.
Right. You know? She's like, we had 2... And she's like, well, Allie, we had 2 weeks. Like, you can't complain about something when you have enough time to do it. And it's also like, you're 12. Your teacher's not expecting you to be, like, Toni Morrison, girl. Like,
She's barely expecting you to be Dr. Seuss. Like, it's not even, like... Just put words down on a page.
Right. And make sure it makes some sort of coherent sense.
And it is a very... Like, it's an interesting thing. Not an interesting thing, per se, but... There's a thing with Allie that, Santa does point out to her, too, where he's like, you're clearly smart. And we see it in this, like, she makes up this whole elaborate story about Shakespeare coming to the modern times, like, in class in the span of maybe 30 seconds.
Right.
Right? So it's like, you clearly, like, if you literally just went home and started writing that on paper, you would be done in 2 hours.
Right. Because
you clearly have the ability to do it. It's just like,
you just actively choose
want
not to. Right.
You just don't feel like doing it right now. And I think that it's, that is, like you said, it's very common. You know, because even when Santa goes to see, like, the other naughty girls, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they're all...
they're, they're doing things where it's like, and like it's just like these are common things that kids do. That's why we have this word for it. You know, this idea of, oh, kids can be a little naughty or a little this whatever. So we understand that it's not like detrimental. It doesn't suggest that they're gonna grow up and be sociopaths. It's just or that they are sociopaths. You don't really grow into one. You just sort of
are one. Yeah.
You know, like it's not that that's the case. It's just that, you know, their just inclination is a little bit towards, you know, they're a little bit towards chaos.
They're most children
little
are
chaotic
good. Yeah, they're chaotic good neutrals.
Chaotic good.
I'm not saying every child. I'm just saying a lot of children.
I would say a fair chaotic neutral.
I was a chaotic good. I'll say that.
I think I might be a chaotic. No, I'm not. I'm a true neutral. I really am. Just a little.
I was a chaotic good. I'll get my parents to sign off on that.
But yeah, like it's just like these like little things that you do, but the point is that like you can't. It's a basic lesson that like that doesn't serve you in the long run.
Right.
And this very simple idea of like, you know right from wrong. Like, you know what's good and you know what's bad. Just don't do the bad thing.
Right.
Because, and I think that this is something I really like that it touches on. This idea that you can't always take it back.
Right.
And that's sort of that transition where like naughtiness turns into bad.
Right.
Right? Like these moments where children find themselves in paths where they can't go back, where I'm sorry can't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Or where it can't be cleaned up. It can't be like something has now happened, something's been ruined, and like they're at fault. And children are deeply empathetic creatures, so they feel that deeply. And I think like the whole idea of a bad kid, I think sometimes it is something where they feel it deeply and they internalize it. And because they're children and they don't know how to handle emotion, you know, that snowballs into a feeling of, you know, I always do this anyway. I always mess things up anyway, so what different? I might as well just keep going. But like I think that this presents it in an early state in this idea, in a very sort of contained idea of like, you know, just this is why you're not supposed to do the bad thing. Because sometimes the bad thing becomes permanent. And when that happens, like, now people are hurt.
Right, there's consequences to your actions.
So I like that that's in here. Mm-hmm. That's peppered through it. And that she does genuinely grow. Right. You know, and we see it in various ways. We even see it when we watch her put her foot in her mouth with Sam. When she's like, oh, my dad's not going to be home for Christmas. That's so horrible. Can you imagine anything as horrible as that? And Brenda's song is like, yeah, boo, my dad's been dead since I was 3.
But he's never been home for Christmas.
He's never been here. And Allie's like, oh, right, my bad. So, you know, like, even with words and stuff like that can happen. And I just like that you see her come to that realization. Yeah. Throughout the film.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I would also like to make a note of Edwin the Dull. When we see Edwin in the newsroom for the first time, this man on his desk has a lit Bunsen burner on his desk and is trying to test the snow. My question is, why are you in a newsroom with an open flame with a chemical? Like, you're not in a chemistry lab, so you can't just have Bunsen burners on the desk.
And why does no one say anything to you?
That's why his boss hated him.
Are they used to it? Are they like, oh, well,
they definitely are.
There's dull Edwin again with his Bunsen burner.
Yes. I was like, what kind of nonsense is this? That's definitely illegal. You can't have open flames in the office. They don't even let you have candles in the office.
Is that like a real... I've never tried to light a candle in the office.
Well, I know our old place of work did not allow candles.
Fair.
Because I specifically remember somebody getting HR called on them.
Because they lit a
candle. It's because it can set off the sprinklers and stuff, and like those types of buildings are very sensitive because obviously you have a bunch of people packed into them. So if they sense fire, it's a fire.
Fire. That's so funny. I mean, it makes perfect sense that would be the case. It's never occurred to me. It's never occurred to me to light a candle at work.
Because why would you? Just get a diffuser. It was a whole Bunsen burner on his
death.
He had a whole butt lit.
Lit butt. And it wasn't a small flame.
No.
Which is, maybe we should talk about Edwin for a second. Like,
Edwin as a person.
Edwin as a person. Also because, that's part of Edwin's problems that nobody's paying Edwin no attention.
It's also like
Edwin
the
feels he has all the
Bunsen
answers.
burner has been there for a while. Like, that's not like it was some new thing that he bought out when he was like, this weather has changed. No, that Bunsen burner was already there.
It really was.
He's probably been testing, like, rocks or something in there. I don't know.
What did you say about when he was a kid and all the other kids wanted to play with toys and he wanted to...
Play with the thermometer.
Thermometer, that's what it was.
Yeah.
This is a running pattern in his life.
I guess he just liked mercury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, but thermometers aren't mercury anymore.
They might have when he had one.
He's not that. That's crazy. Don't do that man like that.
But
he's not old and dull. He's just dull.
But he would have been growing up in like what the 80s, 70s.
They didn't still have mercury in thermometers.
I think they still have mercury in thermometers now. It's just not a lot of it.
Actually, you know what?
Because I think that's how they actually like.
I don't know the answer to this, so I'm just gonna find
thermometer people. Let us know.
They might. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they still have mercury in it. But anyways, it's a side note.
Well, most of them are digital now anyway.
Yeah.
Sidetracking.
I'm talking about if you have an old school one, it might have mercury in it.
The point being, Edwin is interesting because he's also a great comic relief. Like, he's a fantastic character in this. Just watching him do everything is deeply entertaining and like go down this sort of like madman descent. Yeah. Into this like weather hole, trying to find this machine is glorious. But I guess there is also something here about, not obsession per se, but, sort of like deep passion that is never fulfilled, never realized.
Yeah.
Because he's deeply passionate about the weather, but it's never like... It's never recognized. I'm actually very confused as to why he's a weatherman to begin with. I don't understand why.
That was my other thing.
Research somewhere.
Yeah, because I'm like, I would assume if I was like, that type of person who was more interested in like the details of things and just like the intricacies, I would be like, so I'm gonna go into academia. Yeah. Like it's like,
but it suggests to me that he was not capable in academia, which is. I didn't mean it to be a joke. But like, he was
research
in that field. Maybe something got shut down. I don't know. But
I don't know. But yeah.
Like,
it is very much like a dream deferred too.
A dream deferred, but it seems like it's also a dream deferred. It's all legs confused, man. I think it's also a dream deferred in the sense of like he wasn't. Like, he also just wasn't able to accomplish... he couldn't accomplish it in the area he wanted to accomplish it. Yeah. And so it's not, like, a dream deferred because of, like, capability. Yeah. But then it's also... Like, how often... Like, this was the period of time when weathermen were wildly popular.
Yeah. I mean, we all know Al Roker.
So, if you're on... Like, he showed up in Disney. In, like, the Proud Family.
Yeah, he did.
So... If you're the weatherman and people literally don't know who you are, like every time that he says who he is, people are like, "Oh, you're the boring one, the one that sucks."
Literally every time they meet this man, they're like, "Oh, you're the dull one on TV."
It's like, I guess I can understand that then when you finally do find a real anomaly, and no one believes you, and you realize that there's a machine that can let you like this is how all of the childhood villain evil scientists were made. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he very much reminds me of, I forget his name, but the foe of Perry the Platypus in Phineas and Ferb. Yes. Who wants to take over the tri-state area. Like, he's that dude. He really is. They might have modeled him on this character. Yeah. I would not be surprised. But again, it's a thing of, it's... I guess, like, this isn't a naughty child, but it's an ignored child, I suppose. Yeah. That can grow into a disgruntled and potentially harmful adult. Yeah. So, there's that.
They end up getting him right, but...
They do. But they get him right by sending him away.
To Antarctica.
They send him to...
The
Or is it
Arctic
no?
Circle?
Is it no? It's North Pole. Yeah, it's or Arctic Circle because Santa has jurisdiction. You
Oh
know?
yeah. They send him to the Arctic Circle to teach like the next generation of Edwins
It's
who
like,
think he's cool.
so they actually send him to Siberia. That's actually what ends up happening.
But that's
Like,
where
you
he's
just
most
go there.
happy.
But
you
yeah,
know,
but
so it works out.
It's fine in the end. Again, they tarred and feathered this film, which just and my thing is that with that is that like kids understood that. Like I distinctly remember being in like second grade and learning about like the revolution and those words in textbooks, like and they tarred and feathered redcoats and things of that nature.
What a painful way to go.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like they do that to him in this film. So
yeah,
that's fun.
And I feel like the last point to kind of make is just like that this is very much like crafted like a theatrical film, which I think I remember you saying a lot of these early ones were very much made like they were going to theaters. And I don't know if maybe that's because it was such, this is within the first 2 years that DCOMs were really were created.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was very much like, we don't know if we're gonna have a budget to do this in a couple months, so let's just make sure that this is to the best level that it can be.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you do find when you have to like kind of be scrappy, things turn out well because you're like, I don't know what's gonna happen next, so let me just put my all into it.
And I think it's also because they didn't have a formula down yet.
Yeah.
They didn't have everything in house yet.
Yeah.
Like they had to outsource for music. They had to outsource for costuming. They had to like all of those things. There wasn't a sort of like a DCOM what's the word I'm looking for? Like directory.
Yeah.
For them to just go and like, pluck from.
Right.
So everything was sort of top of the dome and they were formulating this thing that would become the phenom.
Yeah, because they didn't yet have a stable of like Disney Channel stars by this point.
Yeah.
Or they were just beginning to have that, because I think Lizzie McGuire premiered in 2000, if I'm not.
I feel like
or
the mom was
2001.
definitely on this first. I feel like I saw her on this first.
Yeah, or maybe it was 2001. But what I'm trying to say is like all of those shows that ended up creating like the roster of Disney Channel stars had not yet been a thing, like Nina is saying. So it's a very different sort of process because you don't have a steady group of people that you're like, well, we're just going to pluck you out of this show and put you in this movie.
Yeah. And that's, I think, sort of also why like these seem to be a bit more timeless, the older ones, because they are more cinematic. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to like when you get later, it does become very like niche, very sort of specific, and very much a DCOM in the DCOM world.
Right.
So it might not track as well over time because it is trying to speak to kids at one moment in time, because they know that they'll make more.
Right.
But that's not necessarily the case with these early ones. So that's pretty cool. So I guess, I don't know, Chelsea. Would you show this to your babies?
Oh, most def. This is such a great one. This is so much fun. We could add it after The Grinch The Grinch, the Jim Carrey one, which is like my fave Christmas film maybe ever.
So good.
It's so good. But yeah, this is definitely like such a fun one. Good values. Young Brenda song with various butterfly clips. Which, right. That was like a fun thing. Like, she has her hair. Oh my god! If you guys remember when people used to do the twists in the front, I mean, it's still a style now.
Flat twist with the...
it's still a style now for the black girls, but it always has been. But like, I had forgotten that like everybody was doing it at this point.
It was widespread.
Because I remember when I had that style, but she has it with the butterfly clips, and it's so cute.
Yeah, it's fun. I personally, I would. Yeah, we're watching this for sure. I still really like it. And I think as you said, like it's fun, and it does at the end of the day, like it does have fundamentally good values for kids to take away. I think. Also, I'm not gonna lie, like I've always been in the film. In case you guys have like forgotten, there's this whole bit about how the dad, their first Christmas together, he got their mom a charm bracelet, and so every Christmas since then he just gets her a new charm for the charm bracelet, and like this year like he does manage to bring home a charm, and it's like a snowflake. It's just, I remember being a child and I was like, yes.
Real love.
I like that is the symbol of real love.
Mm-hmm.
So if for no other reason, I expect my future boo to do that for me and to pick up on that being something I would want. So I want him to see that.
Yeah.
Because that's also part of it. But no, like I think generally like it's funny, it's well made, and all things considered, and it's good lessons. And then in particular, I do really like this one lesson that comes up in it, and where Santa essentially just tells her two big things. The first one is that you clearly have a great sense of adventure, and that's a beautiful thing. But with that great sense of adventure comes a great sense of responsibility, and I think that that's a great lesson for like all children and humans to have. That and children and adults to have that whatever grant like that you want that is grand, that's okay. It's just you have to understand that it's gonna take things to get you there, and it's gonna take people to get you there, and you have to be ready to reciprocate that. Like you have to be ready to repay that like equal opposite force that got you there.
Right.
So you need to have a strong sense of responsibility as well as being ambitious and loving adventure, all of that stuff. And then the other big thing that I like about this film that I would want my kids to see is this idea that like the naughty list isn't permanent. That there's always you can't take everything back, but there's always room for growth. Like you can always do better the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And so she can't she can't take back that the snowstorm happened, but she can help fix it.
Mm-hmm.
She can do better the next day. She can not steal from someone's trash the next time that the
Right.
opportunity presents itself. And I think that that's just a generally good lesson for kids to get. And I think that around the holidays, especially
Mm-hmm.
when it's all about rejuvenation, when it's like it's about completion, it's about coming together, taking stock of what one has, what has happened,
Mm-hmm.
and then preparing to move forward into something new. That's like a good time to hear that.
Right.
So
yeah. I definitely say rewatch it. Like it was a great rewatch. Highly recommend.
It really was. It was really, really fun.
Yeah. And we definitely recommend it. And with that, happy December. It's honestly one of my favorite months. As I said in the beginning, Mariah. So, literally my favorite month. Happy Christmas, or early almost Christmas.
Yeah, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.